جوابك يا ابني الثغرة.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Hello, dear brothers and sisters, respected viewers. Welcome once again to another episode of, let's say, for a discussion about the Imam Ali alayhi salam, commander of Faithful Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and the book which has been written by Brother Ali, who is here in the studio with me. Let's say salam and hello to this respected guest and see what goes next. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Ali, and thank you for being in this show once again, and thank you for your time.
Alaikum assalam. Again, thank you for having me. And let's start in the name of God, by the grace of God that allows us to be here and think about these topics.
Alhamdulillah. It's so great to have our time talking, speaking about great things. And at least, when other people just hear and listen to these things, they will, inshallah, as I learn something new, I wish if inshallah respected viewers also learn something new. About the chapter which is titled Types of People in your book, I noticed the quote of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, which he has divided people into three classifications, into three types. I would like to read the quote right here, and it will be the beginning of this show, of this episode, inshallah. It starts with the quote of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali Abi Talib alayhi salam, and then let us know your idea and what you have just written in your book. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam speaks of three types of people. One is the scholar and divine, then the seeker of knowledge who is also on the way to deliverance, then lastly the common rod who run after every color and bend in the direction of every wind. They seek no light. Oh, sorry. It went to Siri.
They seek no knowledge from the effulgence of light.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And no protection.
They seek no light from the effulgence of knowledge and don't take protection of any reliable support. Sorry for what happened, but anyway, okay, we are with you to hear your idea about this quote.
This quote divides people into three. And the first group are the ones who have, so to speak, reached a divine level of understanding. These are people who have reached a great level of connectivity with God, and in today's world, specifically these days now that we're living in, there are many, many different fields of teachings that tend to ascribe people to this group. So, if you look in the Shia community and Shia philosophy, they will tell you that there is a select group of Masumin, who are the infallibles of the progeny of the Prophet. Who are these people? These are the people who have reached a level of education, knowledge, wisdom that nobody can reach, correct? This is the Shia perspective. You go to, Christianity, and you have a different perspective of different people who they refer to as saints, and they give them a special position of knowledge and wisdom and love for
the highest level of people.
The highest level of people dedicated to God, right? They become saints. Then you have in every sect, and today specifically, outside of institutionalized religions that may also cause people to delineate themselves off the path to God, there are spiritual movements. People who are going on their own. And they're talking about, the meditative approaches, and they're talking about personal spirituality, and personal religions are being developed through this. Even within this sector of this personal religious growth, you only reach that divine state when you find that you are at that point right before reaching God in complete wisdom. So whichever way you look at this group, you don't need to argue or have differences among people to say, no, 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 you have to accept my group of people. These infallibles in Shia are the only ones who reach this level. It doesn't affect your personal growth whether people agree with you or they have their own ideology. But what it does affect is within each group, every person in that group must understand that it is almost impossible to reach this group of people because the level of connectivity and love and sacrifice and action for God is so high that there is almost nothing else left. There's nothing else left. I mean, when you talk about Imam Ali, throughout his life, whether you look at it from a Shia or a Sunni or a non-religious perspective, however you look at his life, he lived a life dedicated to a sacrificial love to God. That was his life.
And this is so beautiful that you are just talking about this code free from the Shia perspective or Sunni perspective or
because Imam Ali is free from any perspective.
You are talking and you are taking care and looking at this code just as a human being. And you say that this code is dominating on all kind of people and any religion.
Of course. Imam Ali in the code doesn't say there are 3 types of my followers. He doesn't say there are 3 types of people who love me or follow me in life or are my Shia. Or he doesn't say that. He never says that. He says there are in general 3 types of people, for the entire universe. Right? He says there is the person who has reached that level of sainthood, that level of wisdom. This person has reached that level. This is great. This is the person you need to learn from. This is the person you need to follow because they have reached the level just like he has to live a life dedicated to God. It doesn't matter. It matters that you live dedicated to God. It doesn't matter that you are Shia.
It matters that this person is at the highest level of that.
Yes, that's what matters. This person is giving with the highest perspective, right? Then he says, okay, we understand this. It's done. Next chapter. Next chapter is there are people in the second level. Who are the people in the second level? They are the people who are willing
seeker of
to
knowledge.
learn. The seeker of knowledge, all the students. This is the masses, the rest of the world, other than the saints, you know, the infallibles, all the gurus, those wonderful, amazing top people of the world. Non-reachable people, exactly, based on any faith. Then there's 2 kinds of people. One is a small percentage, which are the people who are trying to reach there. And the rest is the majority that we're seeing today that are lost.
The third.
Our world is a lost world, right? So this is why, if you look at the chronology of it, he starts with one group, and then a bigger group, and then the biggest group. Obviously, it's a pyramid shape, right? So in the second group is the people who are looking to reach God. They are looking to take a step forward in their life. They are looking to start with a small step, a bigger step, or they are almost at the door of reaching that state of almost perfection. However, it's a big area of schooling. So when you say I'm in school, you can be in grade 1, you can be in grade 12. The knowledge you have in grade 12 is vastly different
from what
and
you have
superior to the knowledge that you have in grade 1. But it is all school.
And you are a student.
Everybody's a student. So in the same way, in the school of life, you can be in grade 1 and another person can be in grade 12, yet you are all still within that boundary of a student. Only when you are done with your, say, doctorate, your PhD, that you can, in a specific field, you can say that I specialize in this specific field where I know as much as there is to know about one topic. And that's it. Not even about the whole aspects of life, right? So all of this is an education. However, the person who has an intention to learn what will allow that person to reach God in a more loving perspective on the path to purity is the person who is gradually going from grade 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and reaching a graduating level. And that's the second group. The second group are the people who are attempting to do that. They are knowledgeable, they have the idea, and they are trying their best to try to become educated.
Let's say those who are not static, those who wish to learn, wish to reach a great point, and if we want to just talk about it regarding the ego, those who are trying to
suppress the
ego.
Yeah, that's the group. This is the group who realized.
Which are the minority.
Yes, because why are they the minority? Because this is the group who have realized that, oh my God, there is this thing, it's the ego, it acts on me. And I know it's acting on me. How do I know? Because today I went and I almost bought something that was unnecessary for me to buy, that I don't need, and I was going to do that because of the show or the fashion or whatever other reason. And I caught myself and I didn't buy it and I came back. So I was able to fight my ego. However, at the same time, you might have purchased it and come home happily saying, yay, I bought something that's unnecessary.
Yeah.
And at that point, you say, oh, I failed. Look how strong my ego is that I failed. I couldn't not buy this thing. So you know how badly you are a prisoner of your ego.
Yeah.
In either case, from being a prisoner, yet knowing you're a prisoner, to being a suppressor of your ego and free of your ego, this range is your range of education. You start here
and you end there.
And hopefully your goal is to make it here where you can then ascend into the next level of life.
Then comes the third.
The third is the majority,
yeah,
and we know it's the majority.
And I think that while you were speaking, between you speaking, I think that the main objective of this code is focusing and just telling us be careful about those third.
It's a warning.
Level. Yeah, it's a warning, about those third.
It's an alarm, right? Basically, this is just like the other times that I showed you. Imam Ali was showing us the ego and the importance of suppressing the ego. Here again, Imam Ali is saying, okay, obviously you're not in the first level, because if you were in the first level, you wouldn't be, sitting here amongst us trying to figure things out. You already have figured it out. So you're either in the second level or you're in the third level. So the Imam is saying, between those two, please, for the love of God, don't be in the third one. Don't be in that second, the lowest one, because over there, the ego is boss and nothing else matters. Everything is a selfish persuasion of your wants and desires that are influenced by the ego, which is exactly taking you away from the path of God. And this third group is the group where you can see by the way we treat each other, by the way we treat animals, by the way we treat the environment. Look at the Amazon. I mean, it's burning.
Yeah,
it's burning. We need a child from, and I don't mean child disrespectfully, but I mean it in a way that open your eyes. We need a child, 16 years old, to stand on a microphone and yell at the UN to do something where the doctors and the educated and the politicians who are up there are not reacting, and they're not doing anything for the environment or the future. This tells me not that they are stupid. No, they're highly intelligent to be there. I'm not there. Are you the director of the UN? No, you weren't able to get there. Was I able to get there? No, none of us were able to get there. So these people are much more intelligent to get to those high decorative places that they got to. It takes a lot of dedication. But their dedication is not through God. Their dedication is through the ego. They reach there, they do harm. This girl comes from high school and is doing love, which is why it exploded on the universe. It exploded. From nothing. She doesn't have a platform. From nothing, she exploded. Why? Because love is that powerful. When you do for God, there is no barriers in front of you. We spoke about Imam Ali fighting the strongest of the Arab warriors, and he crushed him. It's not because he had muscles. He was a scrawny little boy. But his love is more strength than the muscles of the other person who had nothing to believe to fight in. Right?
Yes.
So in this case, the third group are that lost group. the group that are, enforcing all of those things that we should not be doing. I mean, the amount of resources, money, time, education, understanding that we are blowing on non-essential things that could direct us to just be a happy, euphoric community is insane. But these are people who are giving into the ego. Every whim belongs to the ego.
Thank you. We just reached the middle of this episode, and actually I really don't want to have the break. I would like to continue talking, but as we want to make it more make more time for respected viewers to think about what you have talked about, so let's give them this opportunity to think about what we talked about, you just described, and then inshallah we are going to return to the conversation once again. Let's have a short break and we'll be back again. Hello back, dear brothers and sisters, respected viewers, and we are going to continue what we were talking about in this chapter, types of people in the quote and in the words of Commander of Faithful Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, who divided people regardless their religion, regardless their types, and anything that may just divide them from the others. He divided people into three categories. The first one is the scholar and divine. The second one is the seeker of knowledge. And the third one, and the third group listed lastly, the common rod who run after every color. And those who I think that we should be aware of. Let's see what Brother Ali says in this regard.
Continuing from where we were, I think the warning of being careful of being in that common rod is the focus of this quote, because here Imam Ali is showing us the blessed state, which is that first, which is what everybody wants to reach, right? It's like heaven. We all want to reach that state. That is the end. There is no state after that, right? So let's just assume that that is heaven, right? So the complete knowledge and love is heaven. The path, when we are on the path to heaven, that path to heaven is the second group, the students, right? Regardless of where they are on this path, they are on the path. They are working towards reaching heaven, which is the ultimate.
Yes.
The third group have no clue where they are. They don't even know when the train is coming to get on and get on board and go towards heaven. They just don't know anything, right? They are just running around in every direction, doing whatever it is they want. And on top of it, not only are they lost, it gets worse. They don't accept the protection of somebody who guides them. And that is the last sentence of the quote, part of the quote, right?
Yeah, they and don't take protection of any reliable support. Yes.
Right? So not only are they, you have to be careful that you don't miss that out, because when you grade the three types of people, you say the first is such, the second is such, and the third is the lost ones, right? The ones but no, it's not just the lost ones. The lost ones are descriptive. So one of the characteristics or traits of the lost one is that they also don't accept to be taught, because the ego has overtaken their faculties in such a powerful way that the ego blocks from any teachings. So let us take an example here. Throughout the history of civilizations, there have been good leaders and bad leaders. There have been kings and queens and monarchs and liberal governments and democracies and all that. You can turn around and focus on a bad leading figure. This bad leading figure in history deteriorated the society that they led. In this deterioration, they used means influenced by the ego to ensure that the community will be suppressed, so that nobody can get up and ask for democracy, love, equality, nothing that the human lives by, right?
Yeah.
So these people, not only are they going on the whim of the ego and the desires of the ego, like the Pharaoh of Egypt in the Moses story, right? This Pharaoh declared himself God. And as God, he commanded and ruled. And in this command and in this rule, this God was beyond and above everything there was. For this God to maintain the status of God, this God must enforce on people that you cannot think in any other way. Correct?
Yeah.
So they are enforcing the ego onto the rest of the community. Right?
Yeah.
So this is how they are not. Then Moses comes.
That's why we need to be aware of
Correct.
this third.
Correct.
Because those pharaohs, those bad guys are going to raise out of these third.
Right, right. They come from there. And the danger of what Imam Ali specifically mentions in the last sentence of the quote is, so now Moses comes and he says, Pharaoh, you're doing wrong. Let me show you God. And he says, he knows himself he's not God. He knows, you know yourself what you are. He knows he's a human. He knows. But the ego has so influenced him that he has become a psychopath believing in his lies. So he believes he's God. And he says, no, these are lies. This, your miracles that you're showing me, these cannot be in the magician's field, right? These cannot be. He chases him. He chases Moses until he drowns. Until the last moment he is fighting. Why? So that he doesn't learn. So that he doesn't. Why? Because the ego is so strong and so powerful. So when you look at a lot of the conflicts that we're having in the world today, you can relate to this quote because many people are refusing to allow people to get along, get by, create resolutions to the problems that there are. I have friends and they come from a Palestinian background and some come from an Israeli Jewish background, Palestinian Muslim background, and they are friends and they get along. And when I watch them interact, I realize that they have no problems in their religion. Like there's no Jewish Islamic true problem. Conflict. So then I start thinking, where does the conflict arise? Because the conflict is not religious, that we should have a problem with the Jewish people.
No.
We don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with Jewish people because I have no conflict. They don't say...
In Islam, there is no conflict. You don't start any conflict with any other people.
No, in fact, not only that, we don't have a conflict because the Jewish people and us, or us and the Christians, or us and Hindus, we don't have a problem inherently in the religious standard. What is happening, then I look around and I say to myself, well, why are we killing each other? Why is all this conflict in the Middle East happening and whatnot? And then I notice and I say, well, it has to do with political measures surrounding the ideology of Jewish Islamic tendencies. So it's a game, really, that is built around the third group. The third group developed this game.
Are ruling the other.
Exactly. And they are ruining and destroying everything that we have in love so that they can maintain that egoistic perspective of increasing their authority through Zionist and terrorist organizations that are depleting our resources and humanity in love. So the dangers of the third group are immense. And if you find yourself in the third group, you really have to be careful because you now have a very serious disease. The disease of the ego is much scarier than cancer because in cancer,
it only kills the person, but
it kills you. And if you fight it, and if you're lucky, and if the medicine is good and it's working on you, you can cure yourself. There are other ways, you meditatively try to cure yourself and whatnot. There are ways you can fight this disease.
Yeah.
And it's obvious. It shows. I have cancer here. This is the sector, I focus on it, the medication focuses on it. We are trapping it here. Now, either it wins and we know it won, and unfortunately there's nothing I can do, or I see myself be defeating this cancer. But with the ego, you have to be so careful, because once the ego sits inside you, you are spreading like tentacles attributes of this ego throughout your society. So you really have to take a step back and say, where am I? Am I in this third group? Then it's hell. This is hell.
Yeah.
We said that's heaven. This is the path to heaven. This is hell. You are in hell when you're in the third group. How do I save myself from hell? That is where you have to now educate yourself.
And the more you let your ego control you, the deeper you go.
Exactly. You go deeper and deeper into hell. And you reach the states that are disastrous within yourself. And the more you lift yourself from that third group, hopefully you can throw yourself into the second group, even if it's at the beginning, even if it's at the border and you're sitting right against the border wall. It's a lot better, because now you have guidance, you have the beginning portions of control to be able to move forward and reach love. So the third group is where everybody has to pay attention. And there are ways you can analyze yourself and see, there's not enough time to go into the ways, but I have described through my writings the ways where you can trap the ego, catch the ego, and analyze where you sit. How suppressed is your ego? How much does your ego control you? How can you, being at this level of the ego controlling you, lower it to this level? What are the steps you can take? What are the measures you can take? These are all important in our lives, because if we don't suppress the ego, all the time we're spending in becoming the best surgeon in the world will be useless, because we ourselves are not committed to love. And without love,
we're nothing.
We are nothing.
We are created for love.
Yeah.
Due to what we have discussed in these nights and in this conversation, love is the most important and the most powerful energy which exists in the world, and let's say it's a common language. It's a common language between all the, not only human beings, between all the animals, as you just
all life.
Yeah, all
anything
life.
that has life.
Even not the animals, not those who has got soul, even by this chair, by I don't know, this book, the water. I remember there was an experiment for the water. When you just talk to the water in a good way, then you just freeze it, you will find the molecules, the foundation of the molecules next to each other so beautifully. But when you curse the water, when you say bad words to the water, then it becomes so...
Same thing with plants, right? I mean, they tell you, if you speak to your plant and have kind of a friendship with your plant on a daily basis,
then it grows
more fruitfully, right? Love is the basis for everything, and it's the basis for crushing the ego.
And I think, and really, love is the only thing, if we want to be so, reliable, is the only thing that every person can understand it. Even a little child, a little baby can find it, can know it, can understand it.
Well, it shouldn't be surprising, because this is an innate part of us, which is the core that directs us. So a little baby, as you say, in the same way, when you put a little baby on his mother's breast, this little baby knows to extract milk.
Yeah.
Do you know how much of a genius a baby has to be at that age to understand the science between doing this? That suckling will give it food, and this food will allow it to sustain and live and grow, and the physics of growth. How do you expect a child to know all this? But it is all packaged in that innate feeling of love
to help
that allows everybody to come together, from the mother to the child to the mother, to grow and create and expand. You don't do that through the ego.
Yeah.
You see?
That's so beautiful. And I think that the conversation is over right here, unless if you have anything else to say.
We can stop at the baby and love.
Yeah, baby and love, yeah. And I think that is a great point. And inshallah, we hope love spreads all around the world, and in the best way, in the best fact, through the best quotes, through the best sayings and the sentences from every professor, every doctor, everyone who is free of ego, has just put ego away and wants to reach Almighty God. So then when we just sit and search between all the, the speaks quotes and the other things, I think that we are going to find finally the best quotes, just like those that Commander Faithful Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam has said. Okay, thank you so much for describing these beautiful topics and writing this great book. And inshallah, the next episode, we're going to be with you once again with another episode. Respected viewers, thank you so much for staying tuned. And inshallah, I hope if this conversation has been satisfied you as well, have a great night and good night.